Millions of Americans still don't have a will. What is that percentage and how can you overcome it for your situation? I've got that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, do you have an estate plan in place? And so often, if you're not a financial nerd like me, you think estate plan equals will. And we're going to break that down here in just a second. That's not entirely true, but recent data suggests, this is highlighted in a recent Wall Street Journal article, that millions of Americans still don't have a will. And it's not surprising to me. We do financial planning. We've got a team of CFPs that collaborate with CPAs and other financial professionals also on our team to serve clients. And so we truly do comprehensive financial planning, looking at all 6 areas of our clients' financial life, seeing how they overlap and intersect so that when big decisions need to be made, those decisions are made with full awareness and how it's going to impact your financial life, looking for bringing synergy to your financial life. Well, one of those areas, the 6th area, is estate planning. And so looking at all of your finances, yes, your bank account structure and your retirement assets and how you structure your insurance and whether you're on track for your financial plans, all that sort of stuff, you've got to be aware of how that impacts your estate plan, okay? Oftentimes as we're getting started in new relationships, I would say probably 50% of the time, people come in and we ask them, do you have a will? And 50% of the time, they say no. And that lines right up with some recent surveys. Check out this article from the Wall Street Journal. The full article, if you want to read it, is linked in the description below. But based on a recent Gallup poll, 54% of Americans said they do not have a will. Now, this poll was done just a couple of years ago. I would imagine it's pretty similar. And so 50% don't have a will. And if you think, well, you know, there's a big wealth gap, and so the folks that have a lot of resources, they've got wills. It's the folks that don't have a lot of resources, of course they don't have wills because there's not a lot of assets to pass on. I would say think again. This suggests also 1 out of 5, so 20% of individuals that have $1 million saved up in investments, not $1 million net worth, not $1 million if you count their assets plus life insurance if they were to pass away, right? Those folks, it's a lot more. There's a lot more of those. So this is an exclusive crust, if you will. Have $1 million invested. 20% of those, 1 out of 5, don't have a will. So this isn't just a problem that is distorted or masked by this percentage. Well, 50% of people don't need a will. No, I would say there's some work to be done here to get your estate plan in place. All right, so what do you need to do? And so if you're married, you're gonna want to sit down and talk to your spouse about this. And I've told this story before, but when Cindy and I first got married, we structured our accounts jointly and all that sort of stuff. And when we started talking about having kids, we started then talking about the estate plan. And it was just not fun. It's not fun to talk about. It's not like it was fun for me. I just knew we needed to have that conversation, and we've had a few since. And so it was on a road trip going, I think, I don't know, we were heading somewhere for a couple of hours and you couldn't go anywhere. And so I actually told her, I said, hey, we know we've needed to talk about this, who we would have play what role, where assets would go if we passed away. And listen, we're stuck in this car for a couple hours together, so let's just talk through this. And so I'm not suggesting that you need to take that approach for all of you, but it helped us. So get on the same page with your spouse. And all right, so the first thing that you do need a will. You do need a will, and a will is basically your written instructions on who you would have be in charge, and I'm using layman terms so that we're all on the same page, who you would have listed as being in charge if you passed away. And in charge means gathering your wishes, looking at all of the assets, sort of gathering that list, hiring an attorney, and making sure there's an orderly progression of passing your assets on to the next party. So who would you list as in charge? That's number one. Number two, who would get what? So any specific bequests is what they call them. So you don't have to go through item by item and say, I want the TV to go to this person. No. Usually it's just, this charity gets 10 grand, this person gets 10 grand, split everything else up among the kids or whatever. Okay. So laying out in general terms, typically where you'd want assets to go. And then 3, any other special kind of considerations, and kind of the obvious one being if you have kids, minor kids, you'd be listing a guardian within your will. So that's really it. It's who's going to play what role, who will receive what or what percentage, and then any other special circumstances. It sounds very scary. It's not fun to talk about your passing, but it is inevitable. And so getting this proper instruction in place is it's essential, okay? And it will give you peace of mind. It doesn't require elaborate attorney work and attorney's fees and all that sort of stuff. Of course, we're going to recommend that you sit down with a competent estate planning attorney and talk through your wishes and your intentions, and they'll help craft a document. But there are other ways to get it in place as well, if even that seems too cumbersome. It's not wildly expensive. Obviously, that's relative to everyone, but a couple $100, okay? Couple $100. And so therefore, you need a will. Get a will in place. Second thing you need, though, and this is what I would start calling your overall estate plan, is the other documents that are complementary to a will. We never recommend that someone just get a will in place. It's that you get a basic estate plan or basic estate plan plus a trust or whatever your situation requires. And so along with that will, you need medical directives. And that is, if you're unable to make your own decisions, you need to have have documents where you give authority to other folks to make those decisions for you. So a healthcare power of attorney, and you're going to want them to sign a HIPAA release. There's all sorts of privacy laws in place, and your doctor's office or hospitals might have another form that they need to sign as well, but you're going to want that HIPAA, that healthcare power of attorney, healthcare power of appointment, whatever. It's got a few different healthcare appointment of healthcare representative. It's all the same thing, and that includes a HIPAA release. And then the third is a durable or financial power of attorney. So the healthcare power of attorney is you're listing the individual who will make medical decisions if you're unable to. The durable power of attorney is the individual that you're giving financial authority to if you're unable to, or immediately if you so choose. And so, yes, the financial institution that you're working with, they might have another form as well, but you're still going to want to get that durable financial power of attorney in place. As I mentioned, you could, for that durable power of attorney, you can say, as soon as I sign this document, this person can act on my behalf, or you can say, no, I have to be proven that it's got to be proven that I'm unable to act by myself or for myself. And if that's proven, then this individual can act. For each of those, you're going to want to list someone and then an alternate, sometimes even an alternate to the alternate, depending on your own situation. So you need healthcare, medical directives, healthcare power of attorney, durable power of attorney, and then typically you're also going to want a living will. A living will is not a legal document, but that is if doctors have deemed that you're in a terminal situation. Do you want food and water and life support or no? This is not a DNR. This is not a do not resuscitate. This is that medical professionals have done everything they can. Do you want them to prolong your, being kept alive by machines or not? And so you can say yes, no, or leave it up to this individual. And this is, don't take this as a full explanation and teaching that you'll get from your CFP before you sit down with your attorney, but this is the basics, okay? So a will, along with those medical directives, healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, living will. And then some of you have done videos on this before, will also need to add a living trust, a revocable living trust as well. All right, so that's the second thing you need. You need a will. You need the other documents as well. That would encompass an estate plan, but then that estate planning process you need to do for number 3, and that is making sure that your ownership on all of your assets is correct and that you add beneficiaries to everything. Because having the right estate plan in place, but not having your assets owned or titled the right way, or having the beneficiaries correct, could completely undo or at least complicate that overall estate plan. I would actually say it this way: get that will in place and then update the ownership and beneficiaries on all of your assets so that as little money as possible actually goes through the will. Okay, why would I say that? Because assets going through the will, that takes extra time and cost and complexity. Okay, they all call that the probate system, but those are extra time, cost, and complexity. If you have an asset where you just list a beneficiary, then it's pretty simple, and that's going to supersede the will anyway. So if you've got your retirement account that says, hey, all the money passes to my spouse, and if we both pass away, it goes to the kids. But in your will, it says the retirement account actually goes to the nephews. No, it actually, whatever the beneficiaries listed, going to the kids. That's what will transpire. So therefore, get your will in place, get the rest of the estate planning documents in place, and then go through and make sure all of your assets are titled correctly, owned correctly, and have the correct beneficiaries. All of that is part of your estate plan. And as I already mentioned, your estate plan is the 6th area, one of your 6 areas of your financial life that your CFP is going to review with you, make sure it's all set up and consistent with the other 5 areas of your financial life, and then they're going to stay on top of it. Not every single meeting or every single year, but every couple of years or anytime a new account is open or money is transferred, they're going to view, okay, well, is there anything that needs to be done from an estate planning standpoint? So work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or send us an email, info@Korhorn.com. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.